At 4:47 a.m. on May 11, 1945, Private John McKinney lay inside his tent near Dingalan Bay on the island of Luzon. The jungle around him was silent. He had no idea that nearly 100 Japanese soldiers were moving through the trees toward his position. McKinney was 24 years old. He had been in the army for 2.5 years. He was the son of a Georgia sharecropper, with a third-grade education and a lifetime of hunting in the woods behind him. By May of 1995, the Philippine campaign had already cost the United States more than 60,000 casualties. The Japanese forces on Luzon refused to surrender. Instead, they attacked at night, at dawn, and in suicide charges against American positions. Company A of the 123rd Infantry Regiment, the 33rd Infantry Division, had established a small outpost near Dingalan Bay. It guarded a vital supply route. Americans manned a light machine gun on the perimeter. McKinney had just finished a long shift at that gun. He walked back to his tent, laid down on the ground, and placed his M1 rifle beside him. The jungle stayed quiet, but the Japanese had been watching this position for days. They counted the soldiers. They timed the guard rotations. They planned every step of the assault. Now they were moving more than 100 men, drawn from shattered units still fighting on Luzon, advanced through the darkness. They carried rifles, grenades, knee mortar, and swords. Their orders were simple: overrun the outpost, kill everyone, capture the supplies. The lead element slipped past the outer guard without being detected. Sergeant Fukutara Mori led the advance. His instructions were clear: eliminate the first Americans silently. No gunfire, only blades. By the time the main force attacked, the perimeter would already be broken. Mori reached McKinney's tent. He could hear the American breathing inside. One strike, no alarm. Mori threw open the tent flap and swung his sword downward toward McKinney's neck. In the darkness, he misjudged the distance. The blade struck the side of McKinney's head instead, slicing through part of his right ear. Blood sprayed across the canvas. McKinney woke to pain in the shadow of a man standing over him with a raised sword. He had less than a second as the blade came down again. McKinney's hand found his rifle. He didn't aim. He didn't think he swung. The rifle butt smashed under Mori's chin, shattering bone. McKinney swung again. The second blow crushed the sergeant's skull. Outside the tent, footsteps rushed through the camp. Dozens of them. The main assault had begun. McKinney stepped into the darkness, bleeding, dizzy, and half dead. What he saw froze him. The machine gun position, 30 yards away, was under attack. Muzzle flashes tore through the dark. Arisaka rifles cracked against the deeper roar of American M1 South. Japanese soldiers poured through the northeast perimeter. McKinney understood instantly: if the Japanese captured the machine gun and turned it around, every American in Company A would die. He ran. 2 wounded Americans were retreating from the gun. 10 Japanese soldiers reached the sandbags first. One began turning the weapon. The others formed a defensive ring. McKinney charged straight at them. 2 raised their rifles. McKinney fired first. One fell at 15 yards. Another at 10. He fired 4 times before he reached the sandbags. But 4 bodies hit the ground. He leaped into the gun pit. The space was 8 feet by 6. 6 enemy soldiers were still alive inside it at point-blank range. McKinney fired again. 3 more fell. His rifle clicked empty. The last 3 heard the metallic ping of the M1's, clip ejecting. McKinney didn't reload. He reversed his grip and swung the rifle like an axe. One skull cracked, then another. The last man lunged with a bayonet. McKinney stepped aside and brought the rifle down on the back of his neck. 10 Japanese soldiers had captured the machine gun. 30 seconds later, all 10 were dead. McKinney grabbed the weapon. It was damaged. The bolt was jammed. The feed tray bent. The gun wouldn't fire. Dawn began to gray the horizon at the jungle's edge. More Japanese soldiers regrouped. McKinney scavenged ammunition from the dead, loaded a fresh clip, and settled behind the sandbags. They came again. 20 men charged, bayonets fixed, screaming as they ran. McKinney fired 8 rounds in seconds. Reload 8 more. The attackers fell in rows across the open ground. The survivors broke and ran. Mortar followed. Explosions tore into the sandbags. Shrapnel cut the air. A grenade landed at his feet. McKinney threw it back. The blast knocked him sideways. The position was collapsing. He grabbed ammunition, ran, and dove into a shallow depression as bullets snapped past his head. The Japanese advanced, thinking he was retreating. McKinney opened fire from a new angle. They scattered. He moved again and again, never staying in one place, never letting them predict the next shot. By now, the ground between the jungle and the perimeter was covered in bodies. McKinney scavenged more ammunition, threw grenades, fired from craters, from shadows, from behind supply crates. The Japanese commander believed he was facing multiple riflemen. EWASN single quotes T2 was still one man. At 30 minutes they changed tactics. They advanced in leapfrogging movements, closing in from 2 directions. McKinney knew what that meant. He charged. 5 men fell in seconds. Two bullets straight to the rifle, but then they swarmed him. He went down, bayonets missed by inches. He fought on his knees, on his feet, swinging, striking, shooting at 34 minutes. The jungle went silent. McKinney found another rifle and walked toward the mortar position. 2 gunners tried to defend themselves. He dropped them both. 30-6 minutes after the sword came down in his tent, Private John McKinney still stood. When Company A finally reached him, they found a battlefield that made no sense. 40 Japanese soldiers lay dead within a 100-yard stretch of ground. 1 American had done it. The report went up the chain of command. Investigators verified every detail. On January 1946, at the White House, President Harry Truman placed the Medal of Honor around McKinney's neck. McKinney went home to Georgia. He farmed, he hunted, he raised a family. He never talked about the war. In 1997, he died quietly at 76 years old. In 2017, a highway in Georgia was named in his honor. Most drivers passed a sign without knowing what happened in a jungle on Luzon one morning. In 1945, 1 man, 1 rifle, 6 minutes, and a company that lived because he refused to fall.